All right, welcome to your deep dive. And this time, it's into the world of Thomas Paine.
Oh, this will be good.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
We've got a really fascinating collection of his writings,
Yeah.
pamphlets, treatises. We even have a personal letter and some of his economic analysis.
He really wasn't afraid to tackle, well, pretty much anything.
Absolutely not. No, he had something to say on
Yeah.
just about every topic under the sun.
Yeah, and what I think is so interesting is how, his thinking really did challenge conventions. And across the board, too. Politics, religion, economics, you name it. He was a true revolutionary.
Yeah, and that's really what we're going to be uncovering today.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to uncover those core ideas from these writings.
Okay.
See how they were understood in their historical context,
Right.
but then, most importantly, how they resonate in the 21st century.
Oh, I like that.
Because some of these ideas, considered radical back then,
Oh, yeah.
still have a lot of punch today.
I think a great place to start would be common sense.
But to really understand the impact, we have to remember what America was like in the 1770s. Society was steeped in tradition, deference to authority.
Of course, the monarchy.
Exactly. So Paine's pamphlet, it was like a lightning strike.
Oh, wow.
He used plain language, compelling logic, challenged all these deeply ingrained ideas.
Yeah, and it's so interesting, too, that he wasn't writing for the elite.
No.
He was speaking directly to the everyday person.
It's revolutionary, really.
Yeah, it was revolutionary.
Yes.
Gave people the power to question those foundations of their society.
And that connection with the common person, that's key to why it was so successful.
Absolutely.
Because it gave a voice to this growing yearning for freedom and self-determination. Common sense didn't just spread ideas, it validated feelings.
Exactly. And I think that's what that's what they're all about.
Yes.
Clear, accessible information,
Yeah.
getting to the heart of the matter.
And Paine did just that.
It's really remarkable how this desire for concise, clear communication, it just transcends time.
Oh, absolutely.
And think about how he dismissed the monarchy. He called it a farce.
Yeah.
And a system based on ignorance, blind obedience.
Strong words.
Very strong words. And they were carefully chosen. They were meant to evoke a very visceral reaction, to dismantle that reverence surrounding the monarchy. And this is a tactic that's still relevant today.
Oh, absolutely. Look at how modern political discourse uses labels.
Yes.
Uses framing.
To sway public opinion.
Yeah, interesting.
He also had this genius for using imagery to make these complex ideas relatable.
Like the young oak analogy.
Yes.
Yes.
He uses it to illustrate how even these small cracks can weaken this seemingly strong structure. And over time, it leads to collapse.
And how did that resonate with the colonists?
Well, they were grappling with this idea of challenging British rule. They could see themselves in that young oak.
Wow.
Recognizing their own discontent as this force capable of toppling a seemingly unshakable power.
So powerful.
So then we come to the American Crisis.
Okay.
A series of pamphlets written during the darkest hours of the Revolutionary War.
Oh, so morale was
plummeting.
Yeah.
The outcome was uncertain. And what does Paine do?
I don't know. What does he do?
He joins the troops.
Wow.
He's writing by campfire light to inspire them.
Wow.
His words became this lifeline of hope and defiance.
That wasn't just empty rhetoric.
No, not at all.
He tackled real issues like currency.
Yes, he noted how the certainty of being our own, ironically, had made the colonists less careful about the value of their own currency.
So he recognized those internal struggles, those anxieties.
Oh, absolutely. And he acknowledged the economic anxieties alongside the fight for independence.
Yeah.
Revolutions aren't just about grand ideals.
Right.
It's about navigating complex realities.
And his writing during this period, it's stirring.
He had this knack for tapping into deep emotions, reminding people what was at stake, why their sacrifices mattered.
Do you have a favorite quote from this time?
Oh, there are so many, but in one pamphlet he writes, "Tyranny like hell is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph."
It's powerful.
It's not just a call to action, it's an affirmation
Yeah.
of their struggle, imbuing it with meaning and purpose.
So it's leadership through language.
Yes, exactly.
Now, let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
Because we're going to talk about Paine, the financial analyst.
Okay.
This might surprise some people
It might.
that he dove into economics,
Mm-hmm.
but this was a man of many interests.
Many, many interests.
So in Decline and Fall of the English System of Finance,
Yes.
he really dissects that system with a surgeon's precision.
He did, and his conclusions, they weren't very optimistic.
Yeah.
He saw the seeds of financial ruin in their policies. He warned about the dangers of unchecked debt, reliance on these complex financial instruments, manipulation of currency.
All issues that we're still talking about today.
Exactly. It's amazing how relevant it still is.
So he warned specifically about issuing smaller denominations of banknotes.
Oh, yes.
And he predicted that would lead to instability and potentially a collapse.
Yeah.
He saw it as eroding the foundation of the financial system.
And this, resonates with so many concerns we have today.
Of course, inflation.
Yes.
The stability of our own financial system.
Exactly.
So his insights on debt and taxation, incredibly relevant.
Yeah.
As we deal with our own economic anxieties today.
Yeah, so we've encountered Paine the revolutionary,
Right.
Paine the morale booster,
Right.
and now Paine the economic, I guess you could say, a Cassandra.
Yeah.
He was tireless in what he believed in, a true believer in the power of reason to challenge systems that weren't serving the common good.
Okay, so that brings us to rights of man. And here, Paine's scope, it expands beyond America.
It does.
To encompass these universal principles of justice and governance.
Rights of man, it's considered his magnum opus on political philosophy.
He argues that government's purpose is to secure natural rights.
Yes.
Not to serve a monarch.
And this, this was radical at the time, rooted in Enlightenment thinking.
Locke, Rousseau.
Exactly. Emphasizing individual liberty, popular sovereignty.
Yeah.
And in Rights of Man, he applies those principles not just to America,
right,
but to all of humanity.
All of humanity, yeah. And he writes with such boldness.
He does.
Saying that nations have the right to change their entire form of government.
Yeah.
This wasn't just theoretical for him. Yeah. It was a call to action.
It was.
To claim that right to self-determination.
And you'll notice a shift in his writing style.
Okay.
There's less fiery rhetoric here.
Okay.
And more philosophical depth.
Okay.
He's engaging in rigorous debate. He even takes on Edmund Burke, the prominent conservative thinker
of the day,
in a point-by-point refutation of Burke's reflections on the revolution in France.
Wow, that must have been something else.
It's a testament to his intellectual rigor,
right,
and his willingness to engage with opposing viewpoints.
And then we get to agrarian justice.
Oh, yes.
And here, he's presenting a truly radical vision.
He is. A social welfare system.
Financed by inheritance taxes.
Inheritance taxes.
Late 18th century.
I mean, this idea of a government-provided safety net.
Unheard of.
Practically unheard of.
Yeah.
But Paine, he saw it as a matter of justice.
Yeah.
Arguing that everyone deserves a basic level of security and well-being.
This was so forward-thinking.
It really was, prefiguring, modern welfare states.
And he didn't just talk about it.
No, he donated proceeds from Rights of Man to help fund this plan.
Well,
he was a man of conviction.
He really was, yeah.
He even suggested using banknotes as a form of currency backed by property. Again, foreshadowing modern banking and financial systems.
Wow.
So Paine wasn't just a political revolutionary. He was an economic innovator, deeply concerned with social equality.
And I love how he reiterates this power of principles to conquer, which we saw in Rights of Man. But it's this unwavering belief in the power of ideas to shape a better world.
That's the consistent thread through all of his work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we're ready to dive into the next chapter.
I'm ready.
Of Paine's life and work. Are you ready to continue?
Oh, absolutely. Let's keep going. Okay, now we're venturing into some controversial territory.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. The Age of Reason.
Yeah, this is the one that kind of tarnished Paine's reputation.
It really did. In his lifetime, at least.
Yeah, so this is one that really shook things up.
It did.
Challenging organized religion.
Head on.
Head on. That was, come on, 18th century.
A bold move.
A bold move.
In The Age of Reason, Paine lays out his deist beliefs. So for those who might not be familiar with deism, it emphasizes reason and observation as the path to understanding God. Rejecting the idea that scriptures are divine revelation.
So Paine believed in a creator.
He did.
Higher power.
But he insisted that that power could be understood through the natural world. And human reason.
Not just blind faith.
Not blind faith, no.
And this was a period of intense religious fervor.
It was.
So questioning the Bible was I mean,
It's practically heresy.
It was to really grasp how audacious this was.
You have to remember that context.
Yeah.
He didn't hold back.
He didn't.
No, he pointed out inconsistencies, what he saw as absurdities in the Bible.
Yeah.
He even used his wit to critique biblical accounts.
Give us an example.
Okay, so when he was discussing the story of Elijah ascending to heaven, Paine writes, "It would be more consistent that those who preach faith as a virtue should give us some example of it. Elijah has the honor of being the first to practice it. He was going to heaven in a whirlwind, but as it is difficult to carry anything heavy in that manner, a chariot and horses were sent down for him."
Wow. Okay.
Some little sarcasm there.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
To challenge these deeply held beliefs.
It's amazing that this work still sparks debate today.
It does.
The role of reason and faith, the interpretation of religious texts, the relationship between individual belief and organized religion.
These are conversations we're still having.
Yeah.
And the age of reason cost him dearly.
Yeah.
He was labeled an enemy of faith.
Wow.
A dangerous, radical,
challenging dogma.
Even religious dogma.
Yeah.
But he saw as essential for intellectual progress.
He believed in reason to illuminate the truth.
Even in matters of faith.
Okay, so let's move on to Letter to the Abbé Raynal.
Okay.
Now, this gives us insight into Paine's, I think, commitment to truth and accuracy.
It does. It's kind of a history lesson.
Yeah.
With Paine setting the record straight about the American Revolution.
So Abbé Raynal.
Yeah, he was a French historian.
Yeah.
He published this work on the American Revolution.
Oh, okay.
But he made some factual errors.
Like what?
Well, he claimed that the United States had this big national debt.
And Paine, he couldn't let that slide.
Not at all.
So he felt compelled to correct it.
Yes.
It's interesting, right?
It is. He was meticulous about correcting the record.
Even when it meant challenging allies.
Even allies.
This speaks volumes about it.
It does. His dedication to truth.
Yeah.
It went beyond personal relationships, political allegiances.
And I think this aligns with our listener.
Yeah.
Someone who appreciates those multiple perspectives.
Absolutely.
Critical thinking, a nuanced understanding of history.
Yeah.
And so in this letter, Paine refutes Raynal's claims.
Point by point.
Provides evidence.
Yes.
And really dismantles that misconception of a large national debt.
He highlights the financial stability of this new nation. I mean, history is often a battleground of narratives.
It is.
And Paine, he wanted to ensure that the American story
was told accurately. Okay, so now, as we approach the final chapter of Paine's life,
it gets a little melancholic.
It does. It does. His later years were marked by exile,
imprisonment,
disillusionment.
Yeah, his radical views, they earned him enemies on both sides of the Atlantic.
And even in America. The nation he helped create.
He faced suspicion, hostility.
A man ahead of his time.
I think so.
Those uncompromising principles.
They clashed with the political realities of the day.
He even publicly criticized Washington and Adams.
I mean, not exactly a way to win a popularity contest, but his critiques, they came from this belief that America was straying from the ideals of the revolution.
He saw corruption.
Yeah, factions, partisan bickering.
Still relevant today.
Sadly, yes. Yeah. And his warnings about the dangers of political corruption, the erosion of democratic principles.
It's a reminder that vigilance is necessary to safeguard liberty.
Yes.
It's almost as if history is repeating itself.
In some ways, yes.
Yeah, Paine's concerns about the fragility of democracy.
The threat of tyranny.
They resonate.
They do, deeply, in our current political climate.
His disillusionment with American politics, it's really palpable in his later writings.
It is, but remember that disillusionment, it came from his commitment to those principles he believed in. Yeah. He wasn't just a cynic.
Right.
He was an idealist who wouldn't compromise his vision.
Of a just and equitable society.
Exactly.
And we're back for our final look into the world of Thomas Paine.
It's been quite the journey.
Yeah, it has.
It's a complex and often controversial figure.
Yeah, he was a man of contradictions, wasn't he?
He was.
A revolutionary who championed individual liberty.
But advocated for social welfare programs.
Right.
Fierce critic of organized religion.
But believed in a higher power.
It's like brilliance and flaws, they can coexist.
That's absolutely in the same person. And he was such a brilliant writer.
Yeah.
He could inspire millions with his words.
He could.
But then he could also alienate those closest to him.
Yeah, that unwavering commitment to his principles.
Yeah.
Admirable, but sometimes
difficult
to navigate those complexities of relationships, politics.
Yeah, and that's what makes him so fascinating.
It is.
Right? There, he's not just a historical figure confined to textbooks.
No.
I mean, his ideas, they still spark debate. Discussions today, prompting us to grapple with those fundamental questions about government.
Individual rights.
The pursuit of a just society.
And his writings, I mean, they helped ignite a revolution, inspire a nation, shape Western thought.
Gave a voice to the voiceless.
Challenge those in power.
Dared to envision a world where reason and compassion win.
Yeah, triumphed over ignorance and tyranny.
That's a legacy.
A legacy worth reflecting on.
It is.
It is.
But it's also important, I think, to approach historical figures with a critical eye.
Absolutely.
Recognizing their contributions.
And their flaws.
Because he was a man of his time.
He was.
You know, his views inevitably shaped by the social and cultural context.
Of course.
And so, while his ideas about liberty and equality were groundbreaking, they were also limited.
By the prevailing understandings of his time.
Of his time.
Yeah.
So, for instance, he advocated for these universal principles of human rights.
Yes.
But his vision of universal was still constrained.
Right. By those limitations of his historical context.
Yeah.
It reminds us that even the most progressive thinkers
are products of their time.
They are.
And their ideas should be understood within that framework.
Absolutely.
Even with those flaws, Paine's story is inspiring.
It is.
It reminds us that one person
can make a difference.
Ideas have power.
Yes, they do.
And the fight for justice and equality.
That's ongoing.
It is ongoing. So, to our listener,
yes,
thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Into the world of Thomas Paine.
A fascinating world.
We hope you gained a deeper understanding of this complex and fascinating figure.
His enduring legacy.
The continued relevance of his ideas in the 21st century.
You know, we encourage you to keep exploring Paine's work.
Yes.
Read those writings.
Yeah, you'll be surprised how accessible they are.
Even centuries later.
They really are.
And let his ideas spark your curiosity.
Yes.
Challenge your assumptions. Inspire you to engage in this ongoing dialogue.
About the world we want to create.
The kind of world we want to create.
And to that point, Paine himself wrote,
oh, yes.
The mind, once enlightened, cannot again become dark.
Powerful.
It is.
So keep questioning.
Keep exploring.
Keep striving for a better world.
Until next time, keep diving deep.